Hey guys, Whitney here. Welcome to the Passive Investing Made Simple podcast. This is our live show that we do every Tuesday to help you learn the ins and outs of passive investing so you can go into your first or next deal with confidence. And so if you haven't done so already, be sure to check out passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. There, I've got some free goodies for you, as well as you can snag time on my calendar, and we can talk all things passive real estate and how we can help you meet your goals here at passiveinvesting.com. Now, again, that website is passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. Today's topic, we're going to talk about investing for impact. How can we utilize promissory notes in today's market to maximize our returns on investment? Now, if you don't know me, again, my name is Whitney Elkins-Hutten. I'm the Director of Investor Education here at passiveinvesting.com. And this is the whole reason why I invest passively in private equity deals and in passive real estate, is so I can do what I love in the world, which is not only spending time here with you, but also with traveling with my family, seeing all the wonderful nature places. That's my love of choice. This is just me and my crazy crew. I want to spend as much time with them as I possibly can. Now, my journey in real estate started back in 2002. I started off as an active investor, actually completely by accident. I started off in fix and flipping and house hacking, and then eventually kept some of those live-in flips and turned them into my first rental properties, and then scaled a single-family rental portfolio and got to a little over 36 single-family units and realized, oh my goodness, I have another job. And, taking care of a little child at home, multiple family members that were alien in my family, and then just trying to be a good wife, a good mother, and employee, full-time employee at that point in time. I realized I was burning the candle at both ends, 5 times in the middle. I was like, I got to figure out a way to invest passively in real estate. That way, I could get my time and attention back so I could focus on those things that I actually love doing. Now, guys, I like real estate, but I love what investing in real estate gives me, all right? I am not the person that's cut out to do all the active deals. And most investors I speak to here at passiveinvesting.com, you have a higher and better use of your time in the business that you've created, in the practice you've developed, or being an entrepreneur or entrepreneur within your particular industry. And so you want to take advantage of real estate. And how can we do that passively? Now, this is my personal portfolio today. Over the course of several years, I've scaled 6,500 residential units, 2,200 self-storage units, 15 express car washes, all in partnership. But it's not the numbers that we are after. We should be after one result, which is how can we get 100% choice on how you spend your time? Okay, now each one of us are going to have a different a different way that we want to spend our time. Some of us want to lay on the beach and sip Mai Tais all day long. Others want to travel the world. Others are going to start a nonprofit, right? We each have our own way that we want to spend our time, but it's having that 100% choice. And that is what passive real estate can help you achieve. And we can help you do that, meet those goals here at passiveinvesting.com through our various debt deals, like our real estate debt fund that lends out through our rehab wallet lending arm, also through our equity deals as well. Now, today we're going to talk about promissory notes. Now, we'll cover some numbers and stuff like that today, but everything that we discuss here today is education. So don't construe it as financial advice, tax advice, legal advice. Take everything back to your investing team before placing an investment. All right, so let's kick it off. What is a promissory note? Now, if you're watching online on the webinar, you see this cool little graphic here from Investopedia. Essentially, a promissory note is a debt instrument, okay? It's a legal binding contract between the borrower and a lender, and it outlines the loan terms, the borrower's agreement to repay the loan, and any interest and fees that are associated to that note. All right, now here's the thing. The note is only executed when both the borrower and the lender sign. All right, very important here. Now, there's a lot of misconception in the space when we talk about promissory notes, that while they can be kind of, I don't want to say like written on the back of a napkin, but they can be very formal or informal. When we use the term promissory note, is actually governed by the 1930 Geneva Convention of Uniform Laws on Bills of Exchange and Promissory Notes, United Nations Treaty Collection. Whoa, that's a long term. Essentially, there is a standard. Anytime you use the term promissory note, there is certain language and expectation that's being executed according to this 1930 Uniform Law and Bill. And it stipulates when you use the term promissory note, and that's inserted into the instrument's body, this note instrument's body, it becomes an unconditional promise to pay. And that's very a great deciphering, aspect between just saying, hey, let's write a note, okay, and making a debt instrument, and actually using the terms promissory note. All right. Now, while we have that uniform standard, that was created in the 1930s, there are several different types of promissory notes, and they all come with varying risk. Promissory note, like I said, at the very essence of it is a debt instrument or an IOU, okay? But you can write a promissory note on a number of things. It can be a car loan. It could be a student loan. It could be actually a home mortgage. In some states, it's actually the promissory note is the home mortgage. It can be a corporate credit, right? It can be really on anything. Now, the structure of a promissory note, while we have a standard around using the term promissory note and the weight that term carries, okay, it's very, there's very strict guidelines around it. The note can actually be written in very formal style or very informal language. The note itself can actually be secured by an asset, or it could be an unsecured note, okay? But just the term promissory note in and of itself means unconditional promise to pay. Now, the payment terms of a promissory note can vary as well, okay? There's different types of notes out there. It could be an installment note, meaning that you're getting a payment every single month. It could be a lump sum note, like at the end of a specific term, as dictated in the promissory note, you're going to get a lump sum payment, okay? It can be an open-ended note, meaning maybe you originate a promissory note on a student loan, and you have a note with that other person saying, okay, whether it's they pay back the note in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, there's an unconditional promise to pay, but there's no end date in there. Now, I don't know if I would sign a note like that, but I could see that there's probably a case in between, family members and stuff like that. It can also be a demand note. Okay, when a certain action takes place, the note is then triggered and there's a demand to pay on the full aspect of the note. All right, now promissory notes typically, especially in today's space, in today's market, a lot of people are trying to interchange the word promissory notes for private credit. Now, promissory notes, there's a very distinct difference here, is that promissory notes on a whole are very simple and typically more secure than a private credit deal. A private credit deal can be pretty complex in terms, and also depending on where it falls in the capital stack, could be riskier than the promissory note. All right, now that we understand what a promissory note is, what all the different flavors are of a promissory note, and kind of what goes into it that can, kind of change the aspect of it, let's talk about those things that you should take a look at before investing in a promissory note or in order to protect yourself. Well, the number one thing, and this is what I encourage all my investors, is if you're going to invest in a promissory note, make sure you're going direct to operator. That way you have complete visibility on that whatever is that promissory note is on. Now, there are cases where you can invest in promissory notes, or typically what they're called sold by a broker dealer. But honestly, in those situations, you may not be getting 100% visibility on what the underlying asset that's backing that note. Okay, so when we source promissory notes directly from an operator, we get to see the asset, we get to see the operator's financials, and we get to determine, do we know, love, and trust that operator? Right? Now, before investing in any promissory note, make sure that the company offering the promissory note is legitimate and can repay its debts. right? Even though it's an unconditional promise to pay, if the company has zero money, right? Like we don't want to, or zero way to make money, like that isn't a good investment. Okay. So we want to make sure that it's a legitimate company and that it can repay its debts. Okay. Now, a promissory note should be registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission or a state regulator, or it can also fall into what we call the legal exemptions for registration. So, essentially, in the private equity space, it would be Regulation D of the Securities and Exchange Commission guidelines. And in our instance here at passiveinvesting.com, it would fall under the 506C exemption. Now, that promissory note should state that as part of the note, where, in all the legal documents of the note, it's going to state how it is either registered with the SEC or how it meets when the SEC exemptions. Now, here are two big ifs to take a look at in order for you to protect yourself and protect your money. Is if you're being sold a promissory note and you want to make sure that the person selling you to the promissory note or placing you in that note, if you're not going direct to operator, that person needs to essentially be a broker dealer, essentially somebody who is legally registered and licensed to actually source that note for you. And if it's being guaranteed or insured by a foreign insurance company, contact your state department of insurance to make sure the company can actually do business in the United States. Now, I know a lot of people here probably are not sourcing promissory notes to add into their portfolio from out of the country, but we want to make sure that, it is an investment that we can, actually meets our foreign guidelines and we can actually do business with. All right. I know that things are a little fuzzy here on the right if you're watching on video, but really I wanted to show you how we at passiveinvesting.com do our promissory notes. So we essentially have 3 promissory notes that are available to investors to invest in right now. And how we do it is that we actually put the promissory note immediately behind the senior debt position, meaning you are in the the second most secured part of the business. Okay. So you're sitting right behind that senior debt. Also, that promissory note, there is a clause that says once that asset sells or refinances, that senior debt is going to be paid off or renegotiated, and then all other loans made to the business, including the promissory note, are being executed on. So it puts you essentially ahead of the common equity class and ahead of the general partners. So senior debt first, then promissory note. Okay. Promissory notes can be a lot more flexible in that you can originate a promissory note and not have to go through strict underwritings at a bank and take time and pay extra fees and all this that can actually erode returns in the overall deal. So another way to put it is that instead of sourcing bank money for that second layer of capital, we can actually offer it to our investors, and the investors can make the money that the bank would be making. All right. Now, guys, that is our topic here for today. What is a promissory note? What are the different flavors of promissory notes? What you can do to protect yourself, how we execute promissory notes here at passiveinvesting.com. Right now, this is your invitation to action. You can check us out at passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. And as I said there, we actually have 3 opportunities in the medical note space, a promissory note on a multifamily deal. Those are the top 2 that I can name for you right now. Those are things that you can invest in immediately here today and start earning a double-digit return on your money. If you're interested, reach out to me at passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. And if you haven't done so already, check us out there because you get free access to additional information, masterclass and boot camps that we do here at passiveinvesting.com. We also give you a one-on-one call to discuss your investing goals. All right, guys, if you're here live, don't go anywhere. We're about to start our Ask Me Anything part of the show. All right, guys, short and sweet, but we covered promissory notes, kind of the ins and outs here, and how they might fit in your portfolio. I would love to understand what your questions are, and let's get those answered. You can jump over to the Q&A box. You can also jump into our webinar chat if you have any questions. And if you don't have any questions regarding promissory notes, that's fine. We can talk about anything else in passive real estate. All right, guys, I'll hang out here for another minute. If there aren't any questions, I'll give you guys some time back on your day. What are your offerings? That is great. Great question. We have a offering. We just have like 50K left on a medical note opportunity. And so that is actually a promissory note on 3 medical office buildings in the Carolina area. So that is something, if you want to learn more about, you can email me at whitney@passiveinvesting.com. But like I said, we just have 50K left on that. Depending on, I think it, at the 50K level, it would be a 10% note. It would be a, not a demand note, but like when we we have 6 months left on that note, and then it pays out the full 10% at the end of the note. So great opportunity there. We also have a note on a multifamily deal called Mariner Grove. That is going to be an infusion of a second layer of capital to help us achieve the business plan and get that property to a refinance position. Or to a sales position. And that one has either a 10% or a 12% annualized opportunity on it. And we're a few months in on that note, and I've got like about 500,000 left on that note opportunity to fill. And that one is going to reposition here in about 12 to 24 months. So again, that gives you, like, depending on, if you took the whole 500,000, that would be 12% opportunity or a 10% opportunity. And you can find those on passiveinvesting.com, or you can email me at whitney@passiveinvesting.com. What other questions do you guys have? Was this topic helpful for you? Because I know I get this this question a lot of times on our investor calls. A lot of people go, "Hey, what is a promissory note? I don't really understand that terminology. I don't know how to understand how it differs from a regular note." Was it useful for you? Let me know that. And what would you love? What did you love about today's presentation, and what would you love to see in future presentations? All right, guys. Well, I don't have any questions coming in. I'm going to say that we covered the topic pretty well. It's not a complicated topic. We will be back here again next week. As always, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy day, spending it here with me, and investing it in yourself. All right, guys. Take care.